Hey everybody, John Hiley here with TacticalPDRTools.com. If you are listening to this on Tuesday, August the 23rd, we have just released our all-new Zombie Killer Blending Hammers. Get on over to TacticalPDRTools.com and you can also pick up with any Zombie Killer, you'll actually pick up a free Tactical PDR Tools t-shirt. So anyhow, jump on over there and get your zombie killing on. This is limited quantity. We have 30 available, and they just dropped today. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this message, and now it's time for the show.
It's what time is it? PDR Tool Time.
Hey, boys and girls, welcome to PDR Tool Time. And we got a lot of things going on here. We've got Vince in his car streaming live. He's got the crotch cam going on. And we've got Mike Toledo and John Hiley, of course. And this is a special episode on MPDR, Motorcycle Paintless Dent Removal. How you doing, guys?
Doing well.
Vince, you're in traffic, I guess.
I am. I'm cruising along here on the 405 going north towards Santa Monica.
But you're a dedicated guy. You're dedicated. You made it happen. You got the camera going. It actually looks really good, and it's working.
Nice. Yeah, that's this new platform that we don't want to share with the rest of the world, but it is an awesome platform.
Oh, God, it kicks ass. It's awesome. And John, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Working all day. Got in at 5:30. Trained a student. Did a dent removal at 4, and did a hail car. And I'm still at my shop doing PDR Tool Time at 8 o'clock. So,
Animal.
That's what's up.
Dedication.
That's right. And Mike Toledo.
Hey, what's going on?
How was your week? How was your day?
Well, it was good. I mean, it's been crazy, good, busy, and listen, I don't know if any of you guys ever had Vietnamese coffee, okay? But
yes.
The Vietnamese coffee. Well, I think I'm allergic. My intestines are allergic to the cream they put in there. Like, what is that, Vince?
It's condensed milk.
There you go.
So
If I have a little shot of that, I'm in the bathroom. Like, literally.
You're lactose intolerant.
Might be.
Yeah, you might be lactose.
Yeah, and so you're
peeing out your butthole after
that's
you
not the problem. That's not the problem, though. The problem is that I got a text while I was in the restroom, and I looked at my phone, and then I put it on the toilet paper holder, and then obviously yada yada. You guys know what happened next, and I'm in my phone, and I have two phones, so I'm getting text messages from one phone, and then I realized, where's my other phone?
I don't know what happened next. What did happen next?
Well, I realized, where's my other phone? Well, guess what? It was left in the McDonald's bathroom. And so I make all these phone calls, go back there, someone swiped it, and they turned it off, and so I had to swipe everything, and yeah, it was my Galaxy Note 5, so it's gone.
Is that the story you're telling your wife because the new Galaxy 7 just came out?
Yeah.
Well, believe me, dude. Like, if I do something wrong,
I should keep it quiet.
We're on there for a while. So anyway, so that's all right. So no big deal. It is what it is.
Hey, man, I know some girl that actually she was taking a pee in the toilet, right? And you know how women put their phone in their back pocket. Well, after she peed in the toilet, she pulls up her pants. Her phone fell out into the toilet with the pee in it.
Should have had a new Galaxy 7.
Hey, that reminds me of what I used to do back in the day. I used to threaten people. I'm like, man, I will pee in the back of your toilet. Like, I will pull the back part off, and I'll freaking pee in it, and you'll be flushing with my pee. That's how hardcore I am. So
You guys are
Daniel, let me
crazy.
see. Daniel's frozen right now, and this is cool that we've actually captured this on live video because we're gonna ask Daniel.
Yeah.
So Daniel, what's the show about today, Motorcycle Man?
Oh yeah, come on, dude. Go tell your kids to turn off their iPhones, iPads.
Yeah, it's interesting because Vinny's
Jesus Christ.
got a better internet
Right.
signal than you, and he's on LTE, man.
I'm on.
I know.
the-
I'm gonna have to call Comcast because I called them 2 weeks ago, said I need faster internet. I'm freezing up, and they said okay, and this is what I got.
So hey,
Yeah, you guys on the listen to PDR Tool Time Revolution. This is a this is a test feed. So I'm always about audio, and this audio is just very spotty. So
That's
some
right,
people
right.
tell me sometimes it's not. So
and for all our podcast listeners out there, we're actually doing a live stream right now on PDR Tool Time. Join the revolution. So if you haven't joined the revolution, get on over there. You can go to pdrtooltime.com, and there's actually a community tab up there at the top, and it'll take you right to our Facebook group. You can request to be a member. If your page doesn't say you're a dent guy or something like that, we get kind of weird about that. We only want dent guys in there. We don't want no spammers. So if for whatever reason we don't allow you in, send us an email, tell us your deal, and we'll get you in there. But we kind of screen people. We just don't want insurance adjusters, and we don't want any odd folks in there that are going to be spamming you with like $14 Ray-Bans or something like that.
You know what I always
Yeah.
look for is their profile. If they don't have their profile filled out, I bump them.
Yeah, I bumped one guy. He got really mad at me. He kept on repeatedly trying to get on and get on, get on. And, you know, I went on his thing. There wasn't anything about him being a dent guy. There was no mutual friends in the group. There's nothing. His name was Mohammed something, and he was talking about Islam and this and that. I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't want to be put on the watch list. I don't want PDR Tool Time Revolution put on the watch list.
Right. I'm surprised we're not already. I mean,
We might be.
I have seen a few people requesting with like revolutionary. I don't know what's that guy that's Mexican icon for being a revolutionary.
Oh yeah.
Like
The
some
Cuban
dude,
guy,
yes,
right?
or the Cuban guy. Some guy actually requested, and he had him as his lead or his Facebook header. And I'm like, man, this guy thinks he's getting into like some sort of revolution group. You know what I mean? Where he's going to gather together and.
Che Guevara, right? Che Guevara.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So that's interesting. But anyhow, we're kind of rambling on here. I want to tell you guys what the show is about. We're going to be talking about motorcycle tanks, and we're going to let Daniel Grom go ahead and head this one up, lead us where he wants to take us. I mean, we can talk about tools. I definitely want to talk a lot about technique, and I want to talk about something that probably everybody here is going to disagree with me on, but I've actually had a lot of luck glue pulling tanks. In fact, I've probably glue pulled up to 20 some odd tanks, and I guess I've been really lucky because I've never, ever pulled paint.
How many of those are Harleys?
Probably more than half of them. Yeah, we got a lot of Harley hogs around here, man. People up in this way, they just love their Harley Davidsons.
Well, so let's start off the show with, there's guys out there that are maybe thinking about getting into MPDR. And if you're thinking about it, the nice thing is about MPDR is it is somewhat seasonal, and it's winter is your busy time. So it's a great way to offset your slow time. And it's nice to have the tank vise. You can bolt it down into your garage in a corner. You don't need a lot of room. And you can set up for the winter and create a new revenue stream for your business during the winter and work comfortably inside with the heater on and all that. So that's the first plus, but it's not for the lighthearted. Mike will be the first one to tell you how hard it is, right, Mike?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like my thing is Harley tanks. I those things just kill me. Not kill me, but they challenge me like really, really bad. So yeah, you're gonna have to have some patience. It's a whole new ball game, though. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Well,
But if you're looking for a new challenge, it's perfect. What were you gonna say, John?
Oh, and just a heads up, I mean, we're talking a little bit about Harley tanks, but what I found is like Ducatis, vintage Honda tanks, different newer Honda tanks. The metal is so much easier to work. And then whatever that brand is, that Triumph brand. Don't know a lot about the different brands, but I've definitely worked on them. So I don't ride a motorcycle personally. But the difference in the metal, the contrast in the metal from a Honda or even a vintage Honda tank to a Harley tank is night and day. I mean, you can work a decent sized dent out of a vintage Honda tank. You can see the tip of your tool. You can watch the metal actually move. On a Harley
Yeah.
Davidson, I've never the metal is I don't know. It's definitely thicker, of course. It's definitely a thicker gauge steel. But when you're moving it, you're creating crowns. Like even if you tap all the crowns out of that damage, just the movement of pushing the bottom will create new crowns around it. So you get in this phase where you're pushing and tapping, pushing and tapping, pushing and tapping, pushing and tapping until eventually you iron that thing out. I mean, it's
Yeah. Well, what I tell guys when they're first starting off is I usually tell them to stick with a Harley, just anything that's fuel injected, and that's the first question you want to ask the customer: is the tank fuel injected? And the reason why that makes there's going to be a large opening on that tank because they have to get the fuel injected system inside the tank. So on Harleys, it's always on top, so it's nice and easy and convenient. You got a lot of room. So I tell guys, start with Harleys, start with fuel injected models, and stick with that until you get used to working on them a little bit. And then you can move on. Now, when you go into vintage tanks, most of your vintage tanks for like 60s and 70s, the metal works pretty good. You get back into the World War II age, and there was like I think a 5-year stint there that the tanks are. I don't know what they did with metal. They were short on some kind of supply, but the metal is like unmovable. And I've had a couple World War II Harley Davidson tanks, and they are bulletproof. I literally think they're bulletproof. But also with the BSAs are the same way in that same era. So I think there was some mineral that they put into steel that they were missing because of the war or what. I don't know what, but that's what I've come across. I don't know if any of you guys have done some of those older tanks.
You know, I haven't personally, and I always say that Daniel does probably 10 tanks a week, and I do probably 10 to 15 a year. So big difference there, and everything just comes in phases for me. I don't know about you, Mike. I know that Mike does quite a few tanks, and it's kind of an interesting contrast because eventually I'm going to have Daniel stand because I keep getting put in these positions where my mounting rigs are. Yeah, you really spend a lot of time mounting these things if you're using a wooden table like I use. And it makes sense to get Daniel's set up, but in a sense it doesn't because I'm getting so busy that I just started charging outrageous prices on tanks to the point to where if I'm going to do them, I'm going to be making some cheddar because it's worth it. You know what I mean? And
Well, I also think, John, that, if you end up getting one, it gives you more motivation to want to keep promoting it. Then you know what I mean? Because then if it doesn't matter if you got a bigger, let's say you quote it so high that it might be worth it for you to do it, but now if you have the tank vise, it's going to make your whole life job easier because there's probably a good chance that you can't mount it sometimes. You know what I mean? Without the vise.
Well, I have managed to mount it, but I'm talking about cutting wood and finding the right screws and running down the hardware store and
Well,
then
that's what I'm
running.
saying. Yeah, look at all the time you got.
But I really think the one thing that's going to sell me on it here soon is going to be me promoting, training with my advanced training students that come up and want to do a little bit of tank work. I mean, that might be the one thing that I really want to hear because I don't really want to promote it myself just because I always feel that I can make decent money on it, but I got a lot of cars coming through here, and you know how we are, Mike. It's just a personal thing of me being busy running working in 3 businesses makes it to where I'm like, I'm cool if I don't do But
You're a busy guy,
you
man.
know what
Come
I
on.
mean? A couple
You
tanks.
don't need to stack too much stuff on your plate. Your plate's full.
Right. But for people out there, I mean, if you guys got spare time, I mean, if you guys and you guys want to get into something that's great, like Daniel said, in the wintertime, I would have, years ago, I would have loved to supplement my company in the wintertime. Now wintertime is like, it's still go time. You know what I mean? So it just never, it's like what did Too Short say? I'm like a bunny. I never stop making money or something like that. I'm like an Energizer bunny. I never stop making, instead of beating on a drum, I never stop making money. So that's,
Okay, keep your rapping career.
All right, hey,
on hold.
dude, I'm gonna get it. All right,
Yeah.
so I watch.
You guys, you need to keep that going.
Eminem, you're not.
So,
I work on a lot of tanks, by the way. I work on probably almost as many as Daniel does a week.
Hold on a second, guys. Real quick. John, are you recording?
I am.
Thank gosh.
Chugga 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 chugga.
I didn't. I told him my head's been everywhere right now. I'm
Hey.
just getting into this podcast right now, guys. So
Mike,
sorry.
I'm not
My head is
only-
just
I'm-
not here.
I'm not only recording the audio, brother, but I'm recording the video.
Yeah, I like that. Should I get a little closer?
Check one. We're
So
good.
for those of you guys that don't know, I came out with the tank vise in 08, and I licensed it with Ultradent Tools, and I went down there and had Mike Toledo come up, and we worked on it, and we put together the stand part. I had like the top portion, but Mike and Steve at Ultra helped me do that. We licensed it and we launched it, and sales steadily grew. And then last year at MTE, I showed off the new 2.0, and with the 2.0, I wanted it to be a little bit more versatile, a little bit have more options to do more tanks. The first version was kind of a simple version for people to get just started into it, but it didn't have every trick that I had in my book for mounting a lot of the vintage tanks, because I do a lot of vintage tanks. And now I've gotten kind of well known with a lot of these guys that are builders or restorers, and they're sending me tanks multiple times. And that's where it gets really tricky. You get an old BSA tank and you try to mount that thing, the first thing you'll find out is they have a weird thread pattern on the bottom, and you have to have these Wentworth bolts from England that you can't buy at the hardware store to even mount the tank. And so it was challenges like that I wanted to see people be able to get into, because that industry is growing like mad. There's a TV show called Cafe Racer. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that show, but they take old like CB500s, Honda, 60s and 70s bikes, and they turn them into cafe racers, but they're works of art. They're gorgeous. And so these are the kind of guys that I was appealing to. And so that's what the 2.0 kind of got into. And then have a lot more accessories to go with it. And Vince finally got my tank vise, and he just went gangbusters, man. You just started doing, it seems like, a lot more tanks after that.
Yeah, you started taking all my work. So
Yeah, not really. What happened was you sent me the vise, and within the same week, I had a guy that's a block away from my shop, and all he does is export Japanese bikes back to Japan. So he goes around and he gathers up these Kawasaki 1000s, these Honda CB whatever, and all these Cafe Racer wannabe bikes, but they're all original and they're bitching. They're awesome.
Yeah.
And I myself, I'm a Kawasaki guy. I got an old 1978 bike that I turned into a Cafe Racer. I'm into that stuff. So he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, are you able to fix this tank?" I'm like, "Hey, I just got this tank vise. Let's try it out." So I needed some work on my bike, and we bartered back and forth, and I showed him what I could do. And Kawasaki's are really, you know, they're intricate. They're always different sizes, and you had to come up with a way. And the new tank vise with the attachments, they work. You know, these new attachments that you sent, they work with the Kawasaki's. They work with the CBs, the Hondas. I haven't gotten any British bikes yet, really. I've had a couple BMWs, but it's been fun. I enjoy it. I mean, I've been doing dents for so long on cars. It's like when you get into doing motorcycle tanks, it's a challenge, you know, and trying to figure out how to mount it and trying to figure out how to get the tools there. Now, one thing I do lack is I don't have a set of MPDR tools. I make do with, I have some Ultra tools that were motorcycle tank tools before you came out with your own line, that I use those, and I use some old Dent Wizard tools and whatnot.
Well, yeah, and sorry, Vince, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to say something about that. I mean, and you can relate. John's like nothing against John, but there's a lot of techs out there that do it like John. You know, like will build things out of wood, you know, on the fly,
or doing it on the bike.
We're doing it on the bike, which is I think we've all done exactly what John's done. Even where you're at, you buy the vise, but now you don't have you don't get the tools, you know, the right tools. Because does it make a difference? Hell yeah. You know, it's like basically having to turn in a screw with your finger, and then now you have a screwdriver. So it does help a heck of a lot as far as leverage. Heck, I even use the MPDR tools for regular dents, like big, hefty, nasty dents that I need, as you would say, Vince, no flex.
No
right?
flex.
Yeah. You don't want any flex, right? Well, that's super important when you're pushing on a gas tank, a Harley tank. Even if you guys don't want to, you got to at least have half of it, okay? I mean, if you're going to try to do tanks. But my main thing is I would get the stand, which is the ultimost, and then get at least one nice bar. But I'll tell you what, I've used every single tool that Daniel Grom came out with, and then some. So I even added to it. I had Ultra make me some different tools. Technically you can never have enough, but you want to have the beef tools for sure.
Right. Yeah, right, absolutely.
Right. And
so
the nice thing is they've got removable tips and removable handles, and they sell an extension for the handle end. So you can take that one tool and you can turn it into 5 tools. And I used it today on a truck. It's got such a big bend in it. I was in the tail light, and it works so good in that area. The tools are really nice. I have to say, Ultra really does a nice job with it.
Yeah, I know. They do a really good job.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is, if you, it is pretty ghetto the way I do things, but you know, the one thing that I do like about me having all these videos of showing my different mounts is that, hey, you know, sometimes people want to dibble dabble in something. They want to just get into something before they just go out and make a big purchase. So I like to call my ghetto method the gateway drug to Daniel Grom's tool. It's like, you know, a little it's like the gateway drug. It gets you in, and it's getting me there. So, you know, I'm definitely one of these. I'm gonna make a big deal about it when I get one of them things. I mean, I'm just gonna it's gonna be like I'm freaking riding a shark off of an airplane into a volcano strapped with dynamite big. So boom.
I'm just gonna have to send him one. Damn it!
No, Daniel,
he liked it.
How with that the Tank Vice 2.0, you do have a lot of 1.0 out there that have been sold. Is there conversion kits that you could convert your
actually
to the new version?
And they don't have it up on the website yet. Ultra doesn't, but you can call them and you can get what's called the accessory kit. And basically it comes with a support arm, and it comes with all these cool, I mean, they don't look like much. They're these special nuts and
hold on, let me share my screen, right? So let me
I don't know if
I don't
know if they have they don't have it on their website though.
What about that? Can you see my screen?
That comes with it.
Oh, I know, but that right there is priceless right there.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, it comes in 3 different sizes.
Yeah. So what he's showing there is for your Japanese bikes, they have kind of in the back. I call the inside of the tank the backbone, and inside the backbone they have a horseshoe type flange, I guess, and there's a special tool that clamps that down so you can mount one of these tanks. That took me a while to figure that one out, but it works really well. And there's multiple ways to actually use it.
And just a heads up real quick, Daniel, for all of you audio listeners out there at PDR Tool Time who are listening to our podcast, this video will be available at pdrtooltime.com so you can see exactly what we're talking about here. We're going to try to describe it to the best of our knowledge, but you can go watch the HD video of all of this at PDR Tool Time. It'll be on the latest podcast. Check it out. Go ahead, Daniel. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And so the one thing is when you get the tank vise, the reason you want the tank off the bike in the first place is you want the handlebars out of your way. You're trying to get your light reflection on the dent, and you can't do that with the handlebars and the forks in the way. Then you're fighting the bike falling over. Then you got gas in the tank, and that makes your tip all slimy, and it's already slippery inside. So you don't need to add all that. And then you want to keep constant heat on the dent so the paint doesn't crack. That's so, so important. And when you got open fuel next to an open flame, not a good idea. And so getting it off just makes sense and just makes you a little bit more professional, I believe, in the world and repairing these. Bike guys are more passionate than car guys, in my opinion. I mean, I've had guys just cry over their motorcycles. I mean, they really love their motorcycles, and they love spending money on their motorcycles. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, I mean, why would somebody want to get into? I know I in the beginning of the podcast, I said it's very hard, but I say everything's. If you don't challenge yourself, everything's hard, but it's challenging. But it's like Vince says, it's a whole different thing. It keeps kind of like a new interesting chapter in your PDR career.
I'll tell you that I think guys should. I don't want to sell it, to be honest with you. I don't want to sell them getting into this. You either just want to do something new and you want to, I was bored when I came up with this, and I needed something. I needed a shot in the arm to get me excited again. And that's what this did for me. So if you're one of those guys looking for something new and exciting and challenging, you want to challenge yourself, this will definitely challenge yourself. And but don't dilly dabble in it, in my opinion. Just
either go all in or don't
yeah.
go in at all.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Daniel, I've got Ultra pulled up right now, and I've got your tool set right here. Very, very nice. It's a reasonable price. It's only $695 for the rods. Is this true? Is this good?
Yeah. And he's added a ton of stuff in here. So
you see that extension right there in the bottom middle, right there?
yeah, the A45.
Yeah, right here.
There.
Yeah,
that bar.
Yeah,
that's
use
money
all the time, even not even doing PDR. PDR.
Yeah,
Wow.
if you've already got some Ultra tools that have removable handles on it, you're going to want that extension, man, because you're going to take all your other tools and be able to make 2 tools out of it
Dude.
Go
there.
a little lower, John. Go a little lower.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The bar right here. Yeah, the bar right
Yeah.
here. But check out the tip set that comes with it as well, with all the little extensions.
So
Couple
That's the normal tip set.
handles. Now, Daniel,
Yeah.
are these the handles that you recommend that you can add to? You were talking to?
those are the basic handles, but he has a
Quick release one.
He's got a quick release, and I prefer the quick release. Those you have to actually hammer off with the little hammer to get the
Sometimes.
handles off.
Like a Craftsman hammer.
Like exactly, that's exactly what I use, a Craftsman hammer.
Daniel, what's the diameter of these tools? Because I know you said they have no flex, and that's important.
So there's actually 2 tools that are bendable. the MT01A is bendable,
Right here.
and MT102 is bendable, and then the rest are not. Or actually, no, sorry.
Right here.
Take your cursor away. I can't see.
Okay.
The MT06A is bendable, and the MT01A is bendable. So those are the two bendable ones in it. The MT06A is this new one. It's an extreme hook, and it's for getting dents right around the fuel neck.
Yeah.
And you'll get quite a few dents there.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Because me personally, looking at this set, I would use 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 out of that set.
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, you think you'd only use some of them. A lot of people pick and choose, but there's that one dent in that weird spot, and you're like, damn, I'm glad I have this tool, you know?
So the MT04 and the MT02 are great fender tools. I use those all the time on fenders. And then the MT03 is the big 5/8 tool. And that's the tool I actually use on bumpers, on plastic bumpers. It just, I don't know why, but it works great for bumpers.
Now, for those that can't afford them, me personally, I would, if I had to choose two, I would choose the MT01A and the MT03A. I think those would be the two most used tools.
And you're right. Those are the two tools that I use the most.
What did you say, Vince? Which tool?
The 01 and 03.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's right. He's totally right.
01A?
Yeah.
Yeah. The bendable is like, you got to have that bendable.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what I noticed,
with
Daniel.
extension.
Now, Daniel, what I noticed, drifting away from the tools, and just so everybody knows, that little plastic insert that you seen there, Daniel created an insert for the fuel injected tanks because you take off the center console, you got a big hole there. You don't want to pry against the edge, so he created an insert that you can put in there. That's what that plastic one. So again, all you audio viewers, check it out, pdrtooltime.com.
So there's now there's 3.
Now, what's this, Daniel? No, look, I'm clicking on.
Hold on.
Now that's the stand.
That's the first stand.
Okay.
So there's 3 now opening protectors that are in the set. And one of them, Steve actually invented, and it's called the ball pivot. And it's like a plastic funnel. And then there's a brass ball that fits inside of it. And you actually take that brass ball and you slide it onto the tool, and it tightens down with a set screw. And what
nice.
that
Right here.
does is when you get dents really low down on the bottom part of the tank, what happens is the tool just naturally slides up, and that keeps that from happening. It keeps the tool in place, and without that, there's some dents I wouldn't have been able to fix without that.
And
Absolutely
now I
love
just
that
want to
thing.
let you know that I told Steve, because he's probably going to re-engineer that plastic because I snapped it. So.
Oh, really? Wow.
And it whiffled right by my eye, dude. It's like fudge, man. So I told him to make it out of that same plastic that I don't know if it's the same plastic, but the real flexi kind.
Yeah, the more vinyl like. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, Daniel.
Yeah, and we're gonna always add to stuff like that.
For all
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
listeners out there, I'm on Ultra Dent Tools here, and I'm looking through here, but I only see where I can purchase your the first stand. I don't see an option on Ultra Dent Tools to purchase.
He just got he just did all the photography for it, and he just hasn't got it up. You can call in and order the 2.0. He has the first version on sale right now for $8.95. So if you're looking to just get into it, and you can certainly do that. That's kind of your entry level, and then you can order the accessory kit later on, and you'll be fine. You'll be rocking and rolling.
You know what's missing from this photo, right?
What's that?
Well, I just noticed it myself. The stand itself put together. If you had a
It's
picture,
all apart right now. Yeah.
if you had a picture of what it looks like put together, and maybe a model of a stand with the tank on it, I think it'd be a little bit better.
Now,
I think he has some pictures on there, does he?
No, he doesn't. I'm gonna have to
Okay.
call Ultra's marketing department, man.
Now,
What's up with
Daniel,
that?
now with the new tank vise opposed to the old tank vise, I have not figured out how to pivot that thing. And I know on your first version you were able to rotate and pivot your tank, and there is a pivot joint on the new one.
Mm-hmm.
So you might need to show me how to do that, because what ends up happening with me when I need to pivot it, I need to kick out that extra foot or that leg on the backside, and now it's not stable. So I might be doing something wrong.
Yeah, I'll have to get with you after the show, and I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
And that's the thing is it's been I encourage everybody, if you have one of these, you have a question, just give me a ring, man. I'll answer the phone, walk you through anything, help you. Just always have the make and model and the year tank. Guys call me and ask me a question. Oh, I've got a Harley tank and I need to know how to mount it. And I'm like, hey, what year, make, and model? Oh, I don't know. It's like, what? I need to know those three things. So that's important.
It's like you have a Rolodex in your head, right? And you just kind of, okay, year, boom, 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 make,
Yeah.
boom, boom, model, and you know how to mount it.
And honestly, I didn't know anything about Harley models or anything like that. You do learn them. But I wrote down everything. I took before and after pictures. I wrote down the models, and I got that information. And I put it in the description every time I took a picture. So I kind of created my own Rolodex so I can start getting an idea. And
that information is free from Daniel Grom directly.
Yeah. And going to MPDR World. If you join Facebook, MPDR World, that's where guys share all that information. And I encourage guys to share how they mounted it, because my way is not the only way. Doug, what's Doug's last name? Doug Miller? Is that right?
Yeah. He's
Helios?
No, Doug Miller.
Oh, Miller. Yeah.
Yeah, he's up here in Columbus.
That guy, he mounted his tank vise in his garage close to the wall. And one time he had a hard time figuring out how to mount this weird tank. And he ended up using the wall as a leverage point. It was really something. He had the tank vertical, and he was using the wall. And so there's always another way to mount this thing. And that's part of the fun of it. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle sometimes.
And Doug Miller's a champ, man. I mean, he came up here and helped out for the Dents for Kids charity last year. And dude is he's legit. He knows what he's doing. I mean, he was in here working right beside all of us, probably one of the better techs that came out and helped out, man. I mean, he's legit. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He was like the first guy that got my vise and really did something with it and started showcasing his work. And he's legit. Yeah.
Technically, I mean, look at all look how far PDR is coming now. I mean, now I'm personally getting into more appliance dent removals when I wouldn't even want it. It was just by luck. I'll do one, I get one out, but the other 5 I don't get out. Now I'm probably getting more than half of them out. But that just goes to show you, all the different realms and all the different corners of PDR that you can do. It's obviously with PDR. I mean, this is a lot of, especially for the guys on the East Coast where it's winter time, and it goes back to what you said, Daniel. These motorcycle guys are even more pickier than these car enthusiasts, because it's their baby. You know what I mean? These guys love their bikes.
Well, Mike, not only that, dude, you remember our webinar where we had that gentleman that came on and was talking to you? Like, he watched the Dent Trainer video on how to fix the fridge, so he learned how to do it from you, and then he went into Lowe's. Do you remember that on the webinar? And he actually talked to the Lowe's manager, and now he goes there every week, and he had just recently informed us that he secured 3 more Lowe's stores. Now, it's the opposite from Mike saying, like, he's down in the dirty South, man. He's down in the swampland of Florida where it's all hot, and he's happy to be in air conditioning inside of a Lowe's fixing a refrigerator.
But was he a PDR guy to begin with, or?
Oh no, he's a PDR guy to begin with, but actually,
okay.
I should say appliances, because I think they have him fix any type of appliances. But they cleared a spot out for him in Lowe's, the general manager. set that up for them. I mean, what a cool thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it's if you're open for change or open, for new things, new challenges, you get a little bored, like Daniel said, you need some more challenges. MPDR is definitely a way to go, and it pays well. It pays well. Yeah, you're not going to get every guy that wants to pay your price, but the ones who do, it
Yeah.
definitely pays off.
Yeah, and a lot of guys ask me about that, and I'll tell you guys right now. So my minimum charge for any dent is $185. Don't touch
Low,
it.
huh?
That's for like a little.
You need to go
dime-sized thing.
higher, man.
Yeah,
go
you
higher.
do, Mike. Or Daniel. Hey, you know that one you sent me the other day on the rear fender?
Yeah. How'd that work out?
He's like, how much to fix this? He didn't say anything. He didn't even mention your name. And I said $325. Never heard back from him. My ideal client would pay $325 for that.
You guys are so cheap, man. I start out at $1,200 for the smallest ding.
I'll do my stepdad do what he'd do. He'd go around the car and just, he'd sniff all the time. He had something wrong with his nose, but he'd go, so how much? He'd go look at the car. And just sniffle, he's short Italian guy, gold necklace, and he'd pull out these Pall Malls in his friggin' pocket and pull us those non-filter cigarettes, dude. Put one in his mouth, light it up, look at the dent, and the guy's looking at him like, what the hell is this guy doing, man? And he just look at, and then he go, $150. And the guy would just look at him like, all right.
I'd love to see a picture of this guy.
God, I wish I could just do a new reenactment.
You got to post a picture of him.
Dude, that sounds like one of the most legit closes that I've ever heard of, man.
Yeah.
That's like freaking Charles Bronson, dude, rolling up and
It
closing
was
a
like
sale.
Charles Johnson, Clint Eastwood, and John Wayne put together.
How do you say no when somebody sniffs at you like that and then fires up a non-filtered smoke in front of you? You would look like the bitch. Like if you said
I
no.
got whole stories on that guy, dude. But yeah. And then he'd put the cigarette out in the garage. Take it out.
Stomp it out,
Anyways.
let their dogs eat it or whatever.
Blow the smoke when he's getting in the car.
But he just had this mindset that, I don't give a crap what the customer thinks. That's what I'm charging. You don't like it, then show up. It's like he acted like they came to him, but he came to them in their own house, lights up a cigarette and tells them $150. You know what I mean? And this is for a door ding back in the day. You know what I mean? Like this is in the infancy, well, way before that.
Now, I got a question, Daniel. Do you ever use that wooden paddle to knock down crowns on motorcycle tanks? I don't have one, but I think like Dent Time.
Oh shit!
Wooden paddle. Now with the leather
Dude,
back.
you haven't got your paddle yet?
No, dude.
Everyone's got. Well, anyways.
I think somebody stole it off your porch, man.
Speaking of that, how do you like it, Daniel?
Well, I have to show you a picture of it. I already modified it.
I knew you would.
I put a ball on the end.
Yeah, you did exactly what me and John Hiley were already talking about. So
yeah, I like to rock the hammers in my hand, and so I when you put that ball on there, it keeps it. Well, it keeps it from sliding off your hand or out of your hand, and I really like it now. It's good. I really like that grip that you put on there, man. That grip is badass, dude.
The grip is legit. Yeah,
it looks very nice. I wonder what it feels like.
Vince, you have a custom grip. Well, actually, all you guys have custom grips. So compared to I have on Ultra, but still, they're all good grips. No matter what grip you get, you're gonna like it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of grip, we all got those Dent Tracks samples from Anson Tools.
I haven't even opened my box yet.
Dude, I had the opportunity to use it today because I don't have a pass-through mini lifter or anything like that. So I'm like, you know what? I got this crease that's about 6 inches long. I'm going to try one of those Dent Tracks on it. And I got some at MTE, but I never actually. I think Daniel took some of them out of my box.
Yeah,
I never got it, but I didn't have a pass-through, so I've never used it. So the kit that came, it has a slide hammer with the pass-through in it, and I'm like, I'm going to give this thing a shot. And I got to tell you, those dent tracks, and I'm not saying it because they sent them to us to sample them out and give them props or anything. If it was crap, I would come on here and say it was crap. You know me. But I was really impressed. It cut down the time on this dent dramatically. It was so quick. All I had to do is go in and knock some crowns down and a few finish pushes, and I was done.
Yeah, those things are freaking stout, man. They're never breaking.
No, not at all.
Hey, what I love is he sent me a whole box of Atlas Titans with it, which is, and I can't believe like some of you guys don't use them. I've actually heard people, man, them things hook up. Now, heads up, they might not, just like any other tab, man. They're like any other tab. You can't just try to hook them up a couple times. Man, you got to get that thing broke in. And when you get that thing, Matt, when you get that thing broke in, you give it some shots with some glue. I mean, that thing starts looking gnarly, man. I mean, it starts looking like a, you remember when Rambo like burnt his arm, like how he had that big gaping, gouge on his arm and it was bleeding, and he had to take that big torch of fire and he burned it and it was all black and skin was peeling off. That's what your Atlas Titan needs to look like to hook up.
You're funny, John. Yeah, those things are sweet. True. Yeah, we got to thank.
Hey, let's go over some do's and do nots on MPDR. Let's not every single one of them, but most of them. We get this question a lot, Daniel. Do you glue pull tanks?
I don't.
You don't glue pull any?
Well, here's number one rule. If it's got a decal, I would not glue pull over a decal. John might say something different, but that decal is just like any decal. You glue pull over decal, and you'll pull it off. I wouldn't chance it.
Let me rephrase this, okay? Let me. Based on my experience, I would never glue pull Harleys. So that's just me personally. Yeah, I agree with Daniel.
Dude, I glue pulled the freaking right through the gold leaf. I had a guy who had a gold leaf Harley, and
when you glue pull it, what were you using? A slide hammer, a lifter?
A slide hammer, man. I was hammering
You were using slide
hammer?
hammer?
Oh, dude, I was yanking it like I was crack-a-lacking that thing. Like to glue pull a Harley Davidson tank, you have to glue pull the crap out of that thing. And I couldn't, for whatever reason, I couldn't get to it. I can't remember why, but I think it was not a fuel injected tank, and the gas cap was on the other side. And I just did it on this guy's bike, and I made him sign a waiver. Like, I made a custom waiver that day. I went to my computer and printed it out that morning, typed it up, and said, hey, I'm not responsible if I rip your paint off, and had him sign it. And I went to the moon with that thing, just crack-a-lacking right through that gold leaf. And either I got lucky or it just didn't pull off.
Yeah, I think you got lucky.
Really lucky.
You got lucky. I'm going to give you a little inside scoop.
I got lucky like 150 times with it. Just a heads up on that. I mean, I glue pulled that thing at least 150 times.
You know what? You're covered as long as you tell the customer. That's how I do it. And if that's your only option, let the customer know, because if you can't get it, you're either going to live with it or you're going to go to the body shop or whatever paint shop and get it done.
They're going to have to paint it too, Hey, wouldn't that suck though to rip the gold leaf? Because anytime you rip paint off, the first thing you do is you look at the tab and you're thinking, I wonder if I can get that off there and glue it back on.
Yeah,
I think we've all tried that. Yeah. And some of it actually worked.
Hey, have you ever tried to peel it off and it like starts to crack? Oh no, it cracked and broke.
Well, you got to put that alcohol on it real quick. Enough alcohol to get it lifted up real quick. Speaking of that, somebody just texted me some photos right there.
Hold on. Let me tell you something about these decals. Now, decals, these are water transfer decals. They're not stickers. They're not like vinyl stickers that they put on, unless it's been painted once before. So when, like, my painter, he paints tanks all the time. So we've discovered this probably in the last 6 months or so, that we had some people bring us tanks that wanted custom work and then put the authentic decal on there. They're water decals, so there's no adhesion of these decals. It's literally you're putting them on you're putting on the base coat. You're painting a base coat. You're sticking these decals on there. You can move them around until it dries, and then you're clear coating on top of these decals. That's why a lot of the times you don't see a ridge along the decals, or it's very faint. if you do have a ridge around it, you know that tank has been painted before, or they've buried the decal in the clear coat by putting so much clear on it. So you got to think of it that way. If you're pulling on a decal, there's no adhesion properties to that decal if it's an authentic Harley Davidson tank. So you're depending on that clear coat, John, for holding adhesion.
You guys do know up until I think 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, that Harley was they were baking their clears. Or I mean, it was a powder coat type clear that was being baked through a bake booth.
Right.
So it was literally being applied as like a powder coating. That's why the paint, you could sand it so well. Now I'll tell you, I know all this. I can't really give you his name because there's a lot of stuff at Harley Davidson that is proprietary, and he really shouldn't have told me, or wasn't supposed to. But as long as I don't tell his name, I think we're good. But he worked at Harley Davidson, and I trained him after he retired. And he gave me the scoop on a lot of stuff inside of that factory. But he said they've actually switched to spray paints rather than a powder coating system where the powder coat would adhere to it and then it would be baked. But it was a lot of interesting stuff there about the PDR that gets done at Harley Davidson, and the stress test and things like that. They would actually put it through because they would run, it's like any manufacturer. You run a whole line of tanks, and you find out that the hole around the freaking, the pump, the hole that you take off out under the center console is uneven or bent or something like that. So they ran a whole line of them, and they find out that this hole was bent. It doesn't seal properly. So they would get their techs in there, and they would try PDR. They would essentially make tools that you could hook and underneath of it and bang them up like slide hammer around them, kind of like the edgy hook tools. So they would go around and level holes and stuff like that. But then after that was done, they would have to stress test it. They'd have to put it in a machine, or like imagine like riding a bull that violently shakes for like 20 some hours. And this thing would shake it until the metal exploded at all the welds, and it was just metal flying around. So there's a certain spec that tank would have to make it through to be an acceptable repair. I mean, it was really legit the way they did things at that factory, and I actually learned a lot working with this gentleman. So, heads up out there. I wish I could say his name, but I can't, But
even in the 70s and 60s, those were water transfer decals on the Hondas and on the Kawasaki's and stuff like that. They're so when they placed them on there, they can move them around until they were in position. I'm sure at the factory they had a template that they went off of. But there's no adhesion properties to those water transfer stickers.
And I've had those decals lift on me just by pushing underneath. I had an extreme dent, and it was pinched right over the decal, and I had to push pretty hard right there, and it ended up lifting that decal right there. So you can see it lifting and kind of bubbled on me. So you got to be careful.
Okay, so glue, no, generally, except for John Hiley, no glue pulling. Now, I glue pull imports all day long.
Yeah, if it's a solid color import, absolutely, go for it.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I did it. I recently did one on a matte tank. I don't know if it was Harley. I can't remember, but I was scared. I told the guy, I said, I don't know. I could possibly pull the paint, yada, yada. But I did the old dent trainer trick, put some clear packing tape on top of it, and glue pulled it. So it came out.
Nice. It's and another thing that we really should tell the audience out there. I had a Harley tank one time that I pushed up, and I got a little bit aggressive with it on the way up, and I started noticing dark spots essentially. And I actually talked to the gentleman about that who I trained. And what that was, I mean, it was I remember it was like a pearl red, okay? And if you looked at that pearl red from certain angles, like if I'm standing up looking at the lights hitting it, well, where the light started to fade, it would turn dark, almost like a black cherry dark, okay? So what was happening was where I got aggressive with it a little bit, it would be a high spot and the light couldn't hit it on the bottom side, making the bottom a dark color. It was just the flip of the metallic that made that happen.
But you'll get that with even black tanks. If what I tell guys is you always want to use soft tip to start off a dent, and then move into your phenolic tips or your plastic tips or your root beer tips. It's actually rare that I ever use metal. You just got to be a little bit careful with metal on metal, I think, with the tanks.
Yeah, I agree.
I even, if I am going to use a metal tip, I'll put a piece of that wire loom tape
Why?
on there
Why?
just to give it a little bit of a cush.
Yeah, but
Just
why
so
are
you don't get that ghosting. You'll get what
Oh,
it does is on black tanks, it'll
Yeah.
turn
white?
your push mark will be white.
Discolor. Yeah.
And
Well, that's
and
because you're precisely pushing. Now you're pushing directly against the metallic, not a surface area anymore. You know what
but
I
this is on a solid black tank.
Yeah.
And I've
mean?
had it
A
happen.
solid black tank, no metallic in it.
No
It changed
metallic
color?
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that happen too.
So you're bruising the paint. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And you can get some of it to go away with some heat sometimes, but not 100%.
Mm.
So I stick with like my finishing tips are usually the phenolic. It works almost like a metal tip, but it has a little tiny bit of give to it, and it usually works the best.
You can actually
Plus
wet
it's not
sand.
slip.
You can actually wet sand like a champ on them things too, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
Oh yeah,
And you
Yeah.
need to a lot of times. I find.
absolutely. There's lots of times that you need to.
Now,
You know, and I wondered if that ghosting happens on, like John said, some of those powder coated tanks, because they powder coat clear all the time. I wonder if it's the powder coated tanks that actually cause the ghosting.
I think it is.
I think it is too, because it might not stretch as much as your normal.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen on every tank.
It doesn't. No. And I
Yeah.
fixed some really sharp dents and with no issues, but then I fixed a soft dent on a tank this one time. It's like every single push was ghosting. It's like, what the crap is going on here?
well,
Yeah.
let's briefly talk about techniques. Like I'll talk about mine, and you guys can follow after. So if I got a typical, you've seen those knee dents, right? Like, or they laid it over the handlebar dent on the Harleys. Okay. What I tend to do is, obviously, like you mentioned, Daniel, you keep constant heat on it. That's one rule you got to work into. I like to use right now the rubber balls that Dent Gear has, and I'll even put a little gaffer's tape over it just to keep it from melting super fast. But sometimes that doesn't help because it gets slippery, so I'll take it off.
Well, do you use
Rubber.
the wire loom tape from Keith Constantino?
I used it from, I didn't get it from Constantino. I got it from a guy in Alan Ed's guy. He uses that stuff. So
Cosentino.
I've used it. I like it. I still prefer my gaffer's tape though, honestly, because it's just more grippy.
Yeah, but the wire loom tape, the reason it works better is it's heat resistant, so the glue doesn't get all gummy on you.
Well, I was going to say is I put that wire loom on, and then I'll put gaffers over it so it doesn't slip.
Okay.
Okay. But anyways, going back to that, shrink it down, then go to like a ultra soft tip or R4 cherry tip, and then start going down to a plastic midpoint, then going to all the way down to root beer on the plastic one. Because I won't use metal sharp tips unless they've got these small tiny little nips here and there that I can, pinpoint out. Then I tap down as necessary, repeat those steps, and then sand and polish at the end.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I want to mention to guys out there is tanks are way different than cars. So most guys will see a dent that would normally be too stretched on an automobile, but that's not the case on a motorcycle tank. It's been very rare that I've ever had a dent that was too stretched. Would you guys agree with that?
Hey,
I do. I think
hey,
that's a
Daniel,
good
have you ever oil canned one?
Don't tell me you have, John.
No?
I have
He's
not.
smiling.
I have
No.
not. But I should try my shock technique in there, though, right?
Oh,
that might.
right. I
drop
have
a
bent an
match
edge.
in there first, right?
I bent an edge.
Right.
And that actually wasn't too long ago either.
Oh, I did
Yeah.
too. I had to manufacture that wooden block with tape on it to get me off the actual edge. And
Yeah, I see what you mean, like on the outside of it, so you can ledger down on it.
well, no, what
without-
I did was like the center console was off, so there was that big opening right there. Well, what I did was I took 2 2x4s and cut them down and taped them together with Gorilla Tape and made little slides. Like if you were a little person, you could slide down in there, and placed it right in the middle to where it was perfect height. And I slid my tool down there, and the block, I was able to leverage off the block that was touching the edge. But I had to tape it big time. I mean, I still got it back there somewhere. And I even told Daniel, I sent him a photo. I'm like, dude, you need to make one of these, like out of plastic or something. Because it really gave me strong leverage in that tank.
You know what would help, speaking of, since we're on that, I would like to see a bridge being made for those tanks that you can actually expand or whatnot, but you still have the same holes that you can actually put the screws in on each end, but then you got little slots in the middle that you can actually slip your tool in there for leverage, because
Nice.
that inside bar sucks. Leveraging that what is it? What is that part, Daniel? What is
The
that?
backbone.
Yeah, the inside of the tank or the baffle,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Okay.
Do you
I
guys,
call it the backbone. Yeah.
I slip and man,
Backbone.
you slip, you're gonna slice your finger. You're gonna, it's painful. It's just you got to be right on, man.
And I'll warn guys right now, go do yourself a favor if you're going to start doing this. Buy yourself a wrist guard and wear it every time you work on it.
Yeah.
Because the tool will slip, and my wrist has not recovered. I had a tool slip and I wrenched my wrist, and it has not healed since, and that's over a year ago. So wear a wrist protector on it.
Yep, I agree. And we're welding gloves too.
I think we're both getting old, Daniel. A year and it's still not healed.
Well, that's because I'm constantly using it. I don't let it heal.
Look at Vince. He knows how you're using it. But man, listen to this. Like 3 weeks ago, I went to this Irish festival, right? And I just got this thing into me. We had all these bands and groups going on, and I just got a wind in me. I'm like, man, I want to dance. So I jetted up to the front of this thing, and I mean, I went to town. Had some like other dude like chest bumping me in midair. We were bam, and I was doing this thing. It was like Irish dance, but I was kicking my legs like a Russian, And I went out, like I almost passed out. I danced so hard. And people like in the crowd were high-fiving me, on the way out and like slapping me and like yelling and cheering. And I ran back to the back where everybody we were there with, and everybody's like, oh my God, you just went and did that. I'm telling you what, dude, my legs still hurt. Like I burnt my legs out. Like something like, I don't know if I pulled something, but like still to this day, my legs are in pain, So yeah, I'm getting old with you.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the other things I want to mention, like when you're the light that I use, a lot of guys ask me, and I prefer a wide light when you're working on tanks. I think it works the best. It gives you a larger surface of light covering that extreme bend of the tank. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely do. Especially on those really curved dents.
I'll tell you what sucks.
I use the Pro PDR Solution one, fathead.
I'll tell you what sucks when you show up there and you don't have like a light on a stand and all you have is a suction cup light. See, I used to just do all the repairs on the bike, Daniel, back before I went to taking them off. So I would go to people's houses. I was mobile. I would just do them on the bike. And the handlebars get in the way and all this stuff. But when you only have a mobile light, you got to find some way to rig that thing up, and there's not many places that you can stick your little mobile light on a bike. You can stick it on the fender, you can stick it on the rear, but it makes it really, really hard. And I'm going to tell you guys.
A lot of places, yeah.
Yeah, any of you guys, I carry a golf bag. I found that I started like tying it and taping it to a tool on my golf bag and moving my golf bag around to put it to where I needed. But just a heads up, any of you guys who go out there and attempt this, we'll call it Mike. We'll say we're raw dogging the tank by doing it on the bike.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get in cowboy positioning and sit on that bike like you're riding it to fix it. I'm telling you. Like every one that I've ever done, I've had to sit on it just to get that right angle and to press it down and put your
make
head.
Sure it doesn't fall over.
Yeah. And you gotta go to the other side of the tank. You got to stand on the other side. You got to try to stand where the handlebars are. And then what happens is your tools start getting, like the handlebars get in your way, your tools start hitting the handlebars. So
well, that's
not worth doing it.
Not on Harleys. You can't. It's hit and miss, like 50-50 chance.
Plus, it's like doing isometrics, man. it's harder. It's much harder work to try to take that down like that.
Well, it puts you in
Hey,
awkward positions, and you will pay for it.
back
You'll
in
be
the-
named a nice massage.
back in the day, dude, I told a guy, I'm like, man, you need to get rid of these handlebars. Like, this dude just busted out his whole toolkit and like stripped his whole bike down for me, man. And like, he took his own handlebars off and everything. And I was like, I got back in there. I was like, okay, I can do this now, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what gets in your way is the handlebars, and especially if they got one of them plastic faces on them, you know, the fairing or whatever. All that stuff
Yeah,
gets in
yeah.
your way.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had the same thing. I had a small ding. I was like, yeah, easy, $225. 90% of it got out. I couldn't get the last 10%, not because of my skills, but because of the damn handlebars were in the way. I couldn't get the tool on there. I get leverage on it. It'd slip, you know. So it
Yeah.
definitely makes a big difference.
Oh, and a heads up for all you guys who are blenders out there who are really good at blending. Harley tanks are amazing to blend on. Well,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like a rail on steroids, is what I could tell you. I mean, you know, like it's much harder and it's like curved. You know, that's why rails are so easy to blend on, is because they have curves and contours. You can blend and you can manipulate the metal. Harleys, I end up blending like whole corners. I went all the way to the middle of the tank, all the way to the back before.
Yeah, aren't they amazing?
They
I mean,
are.
you can get away with so much more on a tank. It's so different than a car.
Right.
Now, one thing I find myself doing a lot is like a body man. I will feel the crowns rather than, because sometimes they're really hard to get an angle and see the crowns with your light.
I'm
whether
s-
you use
I'm
that
so
head
glad you
cover.
said that. I'm
But
so glad
you have to get like a body man and feel for the crown at times, and even mark it with a little bit.
Well,
of
well, if you
You
come
know.
out and train with me, that's the first thing I do is I blind and
spit on 'em?
and you have to feel the dent.
You have to feel it.
You have to
Yeah.
be the dent.
All right, guys, we are running a little bit over, dude. So
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and go into our quick tips.
Well, hold on, let's close out. So if you're looking to get into this, you know, give me a call.
Where do
Give
you-
Mike a call, and talk to me if there's anything you have to ask or whatever before you get into this. You know, feel free to give me a call. I'm always open to talking to people about it, and hope you guys found this a little bit helpful. And come to MTE. You guys got to come to MTE. I do a talk there with Mike and Vince, and you'll be able to see the tank vise there. We always have a show special there and stuff like that. And so
Where can they
That's my
purchase
advice.
these? I know we told Ultra, but don't you go to motopdrtools.com too?
no, just call Ultra and tell them what you want.
You know, Vince and John, he don't want nothing to do with that anymore, dude. It's hard to fulfill orders and run a business, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the fun part.
Yeah.
The fun part I like. I love designing tools. I love coming up and problem solving. I'm always working on something. You guys know that.
Oh, hold on.
I got one coming down the pipe, Daniel. You're gonna love.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm
hey.
excited.
I've been
Vince
inspired.
sends a message, says, mention shirts. Vinny needs some drinking money. Y'all heard it, man. He needs, he's not doing it for food anymore. He's being honest. He's doing it for alcohol.
For alcohol.
Yeah, get those shirts, guys. Come on in there and get
We're-
those shirts, man.
we're
You guys
down-
really like it. Come on, even if you already bought one, buy another one. Come on.
Hey, this
you-
is it.
You
This
know
is the
PDR techs. You guys
Hey.
make some money.
Yeah, and to have a shirt like that, I mean, that basically spells that you're the real deal. You do this. You are into it, and people see it. I mean, you'll have a shirt that nobody else has.
Yes. They're limited edition, and there's only about 40 left.
Yeah, we are not actually probably making any more for a long, long time. So
No, we're not. No.
So you guys get them up, get them purchased. All right, if you guys new members out there, new listeners, wanting to get into PDR, if you're looking in, actually, hey, what is MPDR all about? Check out denttrainer.com. We have some really cool tutorials, some nasty dent repairs that were done on Dent Trainer. Daniel Grom's actually on there showing how to mount some different tanks and stuff and whatnot. Actually, we need to redo that video too. Actually, not redo it, add to it. What I'm saying, add to it.
Yeah.
But
And you
go on
got
denttrainer.com. You'll see a lot of info regarding MPDR.
And you see me glue pulling a basketball-sized dent on there. So just a heads up on that. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
glue pull this bad boy, and I crack-a-lack it with that slide hammer, and nothing happened. So, but it was
Not on the Harley though.
No. That one actually was. I think I do glue pull Harley on that though too, Vinny. So
Well,
I think I
you
got
did
that too.
You also pulled a dent out using a basketball too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know how we roll over there on denttrainer.com.
I don't know
Check
if we
it
got
out.
time for tech tips, guys. We might
Yeah,
not.
we're way
Hey,
over.
We're way over.
I got to tell you, man, bamboo socks. So anybody who wants your feet feeling good all day, get yourself some bamboo socks. That's my tech tip, y'all.
There you go. Here's a quick tech tip.
Yep.
So we will get into. I got a bunch, but I'm not putting them out right now. I'm going to put them out next week. So
All right, y'all.
all right, guys.
And we're going to
Peace
go ahead
out.
and close out on this episode. So, Daniel Grom, what you got to say? And we got to hear at least one quick tech tip on a motorcycle from Daniel Grom. We can't leave this without hearing one tech tip on a motorcycle from Daniel Grom.
I would say you got to use phenolic. I mean, not phenolic. Peak tips for your knockdown on motorcycles. Peak is the only way to go on a motorcycle tank for your knockdown. If you don't have a peak tip, I think they sell them over at Drew's Tools, has some, and Dent Technology has them. Get yourself some peak tips. I've had mine on, I've been using the same tip for over a year. They just don't wear out. They never wear out. They never mushroom. And there's the only things that work good on motorcycle tanks. So there you go. Here's my tech tip.
All
Well,
right.
Daniel.
Yeah. Well, I'll add that to that, Nick. I'll add that. Tech tip for me then, since you're freaking on it, then I actually do the interchangeable tip from Dentcraft. And if you guys don't want, can I share the screen?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Mind if I do it? Okay. Share screen. Okay. So, anyways, I don't know if you guys can see this here.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, any one of these tips right here, like H24-P right there.
Oh, yeah. The
Actually
plastic
take-
ones.
Yep. I actually take a piece of leather, or you can use it just like that by itself if you like. But I use a little bit of leather, thin leather, and I tap those outside crowns like you guys were mentioning. You know how, Vince, you said you do the field test? Well, this lays down those crowns really good, or a sharp crown on the tanks. And with reducing those little tap down marks that you have to clean up and take you forever at the end, this will help reduce it big time.
Yeah, you'll find that sometimes you'll have some soft paint on some Harleys. So yeah, you're going to want to use something like that.
Cool. All right. Well, that wraps it, John.
Well, that wraps it up,
All right,
y'all.
guys. And remember this, level up your tools.
Level up them tools and go write a review on iTunes. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Join
See
the
you.
revolution.